we as a whole realize that it very well may be hard in some cases to discover new application thoughts that you could work so as to either improve or gain proficiency with another programming language or structure. Tip: when composing reusable code, transform into bit parts. At that point you can without much of a stretch share and reuse it over all your applications and ventures, to effectively fabricate better secluded programming applications quicker. It's open source, give it a try. In this article we're going to investigate 15 application thoughts which are extraordinary to improve your coding abilities biceps, extraordinary to try different things with new advances, new extraordinary to be included your portfolio to intrigue your next manager customer file folder, extraordinary to be utilized as models in instructional exercises, articles or recordings, page with a curl, simple to finish and furthermore effectively extendable with new highlights. OK sign. What's more, each application thought has an unmistakable and elucidating objective, a rundown of user stories which ought to be executed, a rundown of extra highlights which are alternative, however, acceptable to have, all the assets and connections to enable you to discover what you have to finish the undertaking. We partitioned these application thoughts into 3 levels dependent on the information and experience required to finish them. The levels are beginner, intermediate and advanced. In this article you'll discover 5 thoughts from every level. 1. Commencement timer. Level 1 beginner. We as a whole have significant occasions we anticipate throughout everyday life, birthday celebrations, commemorations, and occasions. To give some examples, wouldn't it be ideal to have an application that checks as the months progressed, days, hours, minutes, and seconds to an occasion? Commencement timer is only that application. The goal of countdown timer is to give a consistently decrementing show of the months, days, hours, minutes, and seconds to a client-entered occasion. Limitations. Utilize just built-in language capacities for your computations instead of depending on a library or bundle like Moment.js. This expect, obviously, that the language of your decision has sufficient date and time control capacities worked in. You may not utilize any code generators, for example, the counting down to site. You ought to build up your own unique usage. Client stories. Client can see an occasion input box containing an occasion name field, a date field, a discretionary time, and a start button. Client can characterize the occasion by entering its name, the date it is booked to happen, and a discretionary time of the occasion. In the event that the time is discarded, it is thought to be at midnight on the occasion date in the nearby time zone. Client can see an admonition message if the occasion name is clear. Client can see an admonition message if the occasion date or time are mistakenly entered. Client can see an admonition message if the time until the occasion information and time that has been entered would flood the exactness of the commencement clock. Client can tap on the Start catch to see the commencement clock begin showing the days, hours, minutes, and seconds until the occasion happens. Client can see the components in the commencement clock naturally decrement. For instance, when the rest of the seconds tally arrives at 0, the rest of the minutes check will decrement by 1 and the seconds will begin to commencement from 59. This movement must occur from seconds as far as possible up to the rest of the day's position in commencement show. Extra highlights. Client can spare the occasion so it continues across meetings. Client can see already when the occasion is reached. Client can indicate more than one occasion. Client can see a commencement clocks for every occasion that has been characterized. Valuable connections and assets. Pictures of simple cylinder-based commencement clocks can be found here. Clear interval MDN. Set interval MDN. Date MDN. Model ventures. Commencement timer worked with React. Basic clock countdown timer 2. Flip image. Level 1 beginner. It's significant for web developers to comprehend the nuts and bolts of controlling pictures since rich web applications depend on pictures to increase the value of the UI and client experience UI, UX. Flip image investigates one part of picture control, picture turn. This application shows a square sheet containing a solitary picture introduced in a 2x2 network. Utilizing a lot of up, down, left, and right bolts contiguous every one of the pictures, the client may flip them vertically or on a level plane. You should just utilize local HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to execute this application. Picture bundles and libraries are not permitted. Client stories. Client can see a sheet containing a solitary picture rehashed in a 2x2 framework. Client can flip any of the pictures vertically or on a level plane utilizing a lot of up, down, left, and right bolts close to the picture. Extra highlights. Client can change the default picture by entering the URL of an alternate picture in an info field. Client can show the new picture by clicking a Show button close to the info field. Client can see a mistake message if the new picture's URL isn't found. Valuable connections and assets. Step-by-step instructions to flip an image. Make a CSS flipping animation. Model Ventures. Picture Effects by Bennett Feely. 3. Notes app. Level 1 Beginner. Make and store your notes for later reason. Client stories. Client can make a note. Client can alter a note. Client can erase a note. When shutting the program window, the notes will be put away, and when the user restores, the information will be recovered. Extra highlights. Client can make and alter a note in Markdown position. On spare, it will change over Markdown to HTML. Client can see the date when he made the note. Valuable connections and assets. Local storage. Markdown guide. Checked a Markdown parser. Model Ventures. Markdown notes worked with Angular on CodePen. Markdown notes worked with React. Markdown notes worked with Angular 7 and Bootstrap 4. 4. Formula. Level 1 Beginner. You probably won't have understood this, yet formulas are just culinary calculations. Like projects, formulas are a progression of basic advances which, whenever followed accurately, bring about a scrumptious dish. The goal of the recipe application is to enable the client to oversee plans such that will make them simple to follow. Requirements. For the underlying form of this application, the formula information might be encoded as a JSON record. In the wake of actualizing the underlying adaptation of this application, you may develop this to keep up plans in a record or database. Client stories. Client can see a rundown of formula titles. Client can click a formula title to show a formula card containing the formula title, dinner type, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or tidbit, number of individuals it serves, its trouble level, tenderfoot, middle, propelled, the rundown of fixings, counting their sums, and the readiness steps. Client click another formula title to supplant the present card with another formula. Extra highlights. Client can see a photograph demonstrating what the thing resembles after it has been readied. Client can scan for a formula not in the rundown of formula titles by entering the supper name into an inquiry box and clicking a search button. Any open source formula API might be utilized as the hotspot for plans. See the meal.db underneath. Client can see a rundown of plans coordinating the inquiry terms. Client can tap the name of the formula to show its formula card. Client can see an admonition message if no coordinating formula was found. Client can click a spare button on the cards for plans situated through the API to spare a duplicate to this application's formula document or database. Helpful connections and assets. Utilizing Fetch. Axios. The meal.db API. Model activities. Formula Box, a free code camp project, FCC. Respond Recipe Box. 5. Test app. Level 1 Beginner. Practice and test your insight by responding to inquiries in a test application. As a designer, you can make a test application for testing coding abilities of different engineers. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, PHP, and so on. Closing parenthesis. Client stories. Client can begin the test by squeezing a catch. Client can see an inquiry with 4 potential answers. Subsequent to choosing an answer, show the following inquiry to the user. Do this until the test is done. Toward the end, the user can see the accompanying insights. Time it took to complete the test. What number of right answers did he get? A message appearing in the event that he passed or bombed the test. Extra highlights. Client can share the consequence of a test via web-based networking media. Add numerous tests to the application. Client can choose which one to take. Client can make a record and have all the scores spared in his dashboard. Client can finish a test on numerous occasions. Helpful connections and assets. Open trivia database. Model undertakings. Test application worked with React. Sit tight for it to stack as it is facilitated on Heroku. Test application interface. 6. Book Finder app. Level 2 Intermediate. Make an application that will permit clients to look for books by entering a question, title, author, and so forth. Show the subsequent books in a rundown on the page with all the relating information. Client stories. Client can enter a hunt inquiry into an info field. Client can present the question. This will consider an API that will restore a variety of books with the comparing information, title, author, publish date, picture, and so forth. Client can see the rundown of books showing up on the page. Extra highlights. For everything in the rundown include a connection that will send the user to an outer site which has more data about the book. Execute a responsive design. Include stacking movements. Valuable connections and assets. You can utilize the Google Books API. Model tasks. Book Finder. 7. Card memory game. Level 2 Intermediate. Card memory is where you need to tap on a card to perceive what picture is underneath it and attempt to locate the coordinating picture underneath different cards. Client stories. Client can see a framework with NXN cards, N as a number. All the cards are looked down at first, shrouded state. Client can click a catch to begin the game. At the point when this catch is clicked, a clock will begin. Client can tap on any card to reveal the picture that is underneath it, change it to noticeable state. The picture will be shown until the client taps on a second card. At the point when the user taps on the second card. In the event that there is a match, the two cards will be disposed of from the game, either stow away, expel them, or leave them in the obvious state. In the event that there isn't a match, the two cards will flip back to their unique state, concealed state. At the point when all the matches have been discovered, the user can see an exchange box demonstrating a congratulations message with a counter showing the time it took to complete the game. Extra highlights. Use can pick between various degrees of trouble: easy, medium, hard. Expanded trouble implies diminishing the time accessible to finish as well as expanding the quantity of cards. Client can see the game insights, NR, of times he won, he lost, best time for each level. Valuable connections and assets. Wikipedia. Model tasks. Flip card memory game. Memory game. SMB3 memory card game. 8. Drawing app. Level 2 Intermediate. Make computerized fine art on a canvas on the web to share on the web and furthermore send out as pictures. Client stories. Client can attract a canvas utilizing the mouse. Client can change the shading. Client can change the size of the device. Client can press a catch to clear the canvas. Extra highlights. Client can spare the craftsmanship as a picture, .png, .jpg, and so on group. Client can draw various shapes, square shape, circle, star, and so on. Client can share the work of art via web-based networking media. Helpful connections and assets. Figure out how to make a drawing application utilizing P5.js. Model undertakings. Drawing app by Florin Pop. Drawing app by T0mm4RX. 9. Straightforward online store. Level 2 Intermediate. The objective of the simple online store is to give your clients the ability of choosing an item to buy, seeing buy data, adding it to a web-based shopping basket, lastly, really buying the items in the shopping basket. Requirements. Beginning, you may actualize your item stock as a variety of JavaScript objects in the event that you are creating in JavaScript. For different dialects, don't hesitate to pick your preferred in-memory arrangement. Client stories. Client can tap on a View Products catch on the landing page to show the products page. Client can see a card on the products page for every product demonstrating the item thumbnail, name, value, a short depiction, and a select button. Client can see a product details page showed when the select button is clicked demonstrating a similar data from the item card, yet in addition a one-of-a-kind item id, a long depiction, add to cart button, and a see more products catch. Client can see an affirmation message when the item is added to the shopping basket. Client can tap on the see more products page to come back to the products page. Client can see a shopping basket button on both the landing page or the products page. Indication: a top bar may be a decent normal area for this catch. Client can tap on the shopping basket catch to show the shopping cart page containing the item id, name, cost, and amount requested info box for every item recently added to the shopping cart. Client can see a complete buy sum on the shopping card that is determined as the aggregate of the amounts increased by the unit cost for every item requested. Client can alter the amount requested for any item to change the complete buy sum. Client can click a spot order button on the shopping cart page to finish the request. Client will see an affirmation number when the request has been set. User can click a drop order button on the shopping cart page to drop the request. Client will see the item amounts and the absolute buy sum reset to 0. Client can click a see more products catch on the shopping cart page to come back to the products page. On the off chance that the request hasn't been set at this point, this won't clear the items that have just been added to the products page. Extra highlights. Client can see a mistake message if the amount requested surpasses the close by amount of the item. Client can indicate a bill to and boat to address when the request is set from the shopping cart page. Client can see dispatching charges added to the absolute buy sum. Client can see deals charges added to the complete buy sum. Designer will actualize the item stock in an outside document or a database. Helpful connections and assets. There are a lot of e-commerce site pages out there. You can utilize Dribbble and Behance for motivation. Model undertakings. Web-based business animations. 10. To-do app. Level 2 intermediate. The exemplary to-do application where a client can record all the things he needs to achieve. Client stories. Client can see an information field where he can type in a to-do thing. By squeezing enter or a catch, the user can present the to-do thing and can see that being added to a rundown of to-dos. Client can stamp a to-do as finished. Client can expel a to-do thing by pushing on a catch or on the to-do thing itself. Extra highlights. Client can alter a to-do. Client can see a rundown with all the finished to-dos. Client can see a rundown with all the dynamic to-dos. Client can see the date when he made the to-do. When shutting the program window, the to-dos will be put away, and when the user restores, the information will be recovered. Helpful connections and assets. Local storage. Model activities. Toto app worked with React. Daily agenda on CodePen. 11. Calorie counter. Level 3 advanced. Getting and remaining sound requires a mix of mental equalization, exercise, and nourishment. The objective of the calorie counter application is to enable the client to address dietary needs by checking calories for different nourishments. This application gives the quantity of calories dependent on the consequence of a client look for a sort of food. The U.S. Division of Agriculture My Pyramid food raw data will be looked to decide the calorie esteems. Calorie counter additionally gives you, the engineer, with involvement with changing crude information into an organization that will make it simpler to look. For this situation, the My Pyramid food raw data document, which is a MS Excel spreadsheet, must be downloaded and changed into a JSON record that will be simpler to load and search at runtime. Clue: investigate the CSV document position. Client stories. Designer will make a JSON document containing the food things to be looked. This will be stacked when the application is begun. Client can see a board containing a food portrayal input content box, a search button, and a reasonable button. Client can enter search terms into the food portrayal input content box. Client can tap on the search catch to scan for the coordinating food. Client can see an cautioning message if no pursuit terms were entered. Client can see an admonition message if no matches were found. Client can see a rundown of the coordinating food things, partition sizes, and calories in a scrollable outcomes board that is constrained to 25 passages. Client can tap on the unmistakable catch to clear the hunt terms and results list.